Hello, beautiful people. Today is 10th of July. My name is Sahil and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, today we'll take a quote from John Rawls, a great proponent of justice and fairness. You might have also heard about the concept of wheel of ignorance or original position, which was given by him. Now, guys, he says, an injustice is tolerable only when it is necessary to avoid an even greater injustice. Now, guys, this particular quote has two dimensions. See, number one, there are moral philosophers such as Kant as well as Mahatma Gandhi, and they believe into the absolute morality or absolute correctness of action, and in no particular way they will be accepting this particular quote because it talks about acceptance of comparatively less injustice. Whereas, on the other hand, there are act utilitarians such as Jeremy Bentham, and they say that in order to avoid a bigger bad, we can take a smaller bad. So the idea of John Rawls here looks a little bit utilitarian. Now, guys, such kind of alternative viewpoints you should have for your GS paper number 4, because many a time the questions are such dilemmatic that you need to adopt to these kind of situations, but there you cannot say that it is your viewpoint, and at that point of time quoting a prominent thinker and saying that this is the position propagated by him can give you much needed tool to come out of a sticky situation. So guys, very important for GS paper number 4. Now the main question that I gave you yesterday. So question says that constitutionalism in democracies is based on the premise of social contract. Do you feel that state has been successful to uphold the basic notion of social contract during the present times? First of all, friends, this particular question is based onto the discussion of social contract that we has taken into the yesterday's editorial. So if you had missed it, you might not be able to relate that much, but still follow very carefully the answer that we will discuss now because it is very important. Now, as I say you every day, that your answer should be divided distinctly in three parts, that is intro, body, and conclusion. Now, guys, this question says that there is a democracy, and this democracy is based on constitutionalism, and constitutionalism is based on to the social contract. So, first of all, constitutionalism has to be explained in one or two lines. So the concept of constitutional means a kind of a limitation or a kind of a restriction onto the powers of state. It says that there is a constitution and the constitution lays the area where the state can venture and where it cannot. For example, guys, we have the constitution and there are fundamental rights where the state is prohibited. So this restriction is called as constitutionalism. Now, friends, the constitutionalism based on social contract. How? Because in social contract there are two agreements. Agreement number 1, that citizen will give their freedom to the state for the common good, and in return the state will not abuse the power against the citizen. So guys, a restriction is being imposed or not? So yes, from the social contract theory, the constitutionalism or restriction onto the power of state is coming. And now we'll come to the next portion, that is whether the state has uphold the notion of social contract into the present times or not. So, friends, these could be the basic notions of the social contract: the welfare of all the citizens, a promise for a dignified life, and the basic security such as the food, nutrition, and shelter. And very clearly we can see that half-heartedly only these things has been upheld or have not upheld at all. So guys, in this particular way we will be writing our answer. This will be the bare framework, and guys, these type of questions can very well come into the GS paper number 2, because from last 3 years more concept based question are being asked. So guys, that's it, and now let's take up the newspaper analysis. Friends, let's take the overview of the entire paper first. So first news we can see here that government is considering the WHO's alert on airborne nature of the virus. So we will see certain issues here. Then guys, here we can see that the prime minister has addressed a group of NRIs and had said that government is laying the red carpet for the global companies. Now guys, just you make a self analysis that what are the impediments as well as reforms that has government has carried into the recent times. However, nothing into the news has been mentioned. Then moving forward, guys, Onto the city page, nothing important has been given. Then onto the next page also, the COVID and such thing has been given, which is not important for the exam. Then guys, the same is onto the northeast, nothing important. Then guys, finally we'll reach to the editorial. So the first editorial talks about the criminalization of politics. So we will see certain very good points here. Now in this article, the USA's withdrawal from WHO has been mentioned. We had already covered it into the yesterday's article. All the dimensions we had already seen here. Then guys, this particular article talks about the visa politics that is going on. So all the associated issues will be seeing here. Then guys, it talks about the revenue generation in American universities, not important for our exam. However, one important dimension we will include into the visa politics issue. Then guys, the internet freedom versus national security has been mentioned. So we will see what are the important issues here. Then guys, the next article is the deletion of syllabus by the CBSE. So we will see the issues involved. Then guys, moving forward, so nothing important. However, we can use the example of Telangana Secretariat. What is being done? Internet of Things is being utilized to make it as a future ready office. Here the initiatives such as automatic switching off of the bulbs etc. will be utilized. However, still it is into the pipeline. Use it into the example. Then moving forward guys, the operation Sampark will be discussing here. Then on to the next page, the draft rules for the wages act has been mentioned. Then guys, moving forward, the country of origin is now must, so we will see this issue. Then guys, India is taking a call on Malabar now, so we will see why it is being carried. Then showcase page, not important for our exam. Then again showcase, not important. Then on to the world page also guys, nothing important conceptual news has been given. Only the allegations and such things are there, not important for the exam. Onto the business page also, only the corporate news has been there, which is not important for the exam. On the sports page also, there is nothing important. So guys, that's all. And now let's take the newspaper analysis in detail. Now starting up friends, here we can see that the government is watching into the WHO's alert regarding the airborne nature of the COVID-19 virus. Now before going into the news, we'll see certain basic concepts. See guys, whenever a person talks or sneezes or breathes, he releases large number of respiratory elements or respiratory droplets. Now these droplets can be of two types, the heavier one which are more than 5 to 10 micrometers, and because they are heavy they fall onto the ground and they settle there within few minutes. However, the other that is less than 5 micrometer are very small and very light, and because of this nature they tend to flow with the air via aerosol transmission, and in this particular direction they could be scattered to few kilometers also. So the infections which can be spread through the aerosol transmissions or through air, they are called as airborne. However, into the cases where the infection is only possible through the droplets, the heavy droplets, they are called as the droplet transmission based. Now, up to few days back, WHO has said that it is a droplet transmission, and therefore the person should maintain a gap of at least 1 meter to stay safe. However, 230 scientists had now returned to the WHO that no, it is also potent to transmit SARS-CoV-2 via aerosol transmission, and therefore even more stringent norms are to be applied. And guys, because of this particular thing, WHO had also considered its advisory and had said that yes, it can also spread via the air. And now on to this particular basis, government is watching it whether it is possible or not. So guys, an entirely a new angle is coming, and if it is very well established that it is airborne, then guys, even the masks are to be worn inside, even more powerful filters are to be installed into the air cleaning systems, and the advisories with respect to the safe distance also needs to be reconsidered. So guys, this is all which is going on to this particular direction, and now we'll move to next. Now guys, into the editorial section, the first editorial talks about the criminalization of politics, and in this regard we will be seeing an important judgment by the Supreme Court. Now, before going into the article, I would like you to remind an incident of 1937 when the Congress ministry was formed, which ultimately ruled for next 28 months. So guys, to this newly constituted ministry, Mahatma Gandhi ji said that all the elected ones should see their position as a wearing of a crown studded with thorns. They should not see as an opportunity to rule, rather they should see it as an opportunity to serve. They will be afflicted with tough choices, hard decisions, but they need to uphold their integrity. And now, guys, cut short to 2020. We had seen that the consideration of Gandhiji has not at all been taken into account, and rather the politics is being seen as a crown studded with jewels. The politics is being seen as an arena of muscle and money, which can be entered through putting even more muscle and money. And both the traits, that is muscle and money, are the hallmarks of the criminals, and as the result, the criminalization of politics occurred. Now, guys, when such power and money is involved here, obviously, after coming into the power, there will be an inclination to reap the interest, to reap the dividend onto the invest that has been carried, and therefore the corruption directly flows through the criminalization of politics. And guys, the testimonial of this increasing tendency has been observed by the Supreme Court also, where they had said that in 2004 there were 24% of MPs which had criminal cases pending. However, in 2009 it increased to 30%, in 2014 to 34%, and in 2019 to 43%, which is a very disturbing trend. And guys, into the same ruling, Supreme Court listed certain obligations onto the legislators. It was said that the political party should publish the entire criminal history of the contestant, and secondly, the political party should also list the reasons which compelled or which forced the political party to field such tainted and criminal type of contest into the elections. Now, guys, if you interested, then this entire noting was given by the Supreme Court in 2020 when it was hearing a contempt petition onto its earlier judgment of 2018 onto the Public Interest Foundation versus Union of India case, where it was said that all the criminal details are to be listed onto the website of the political party, and such details should also be publicized through the print as well as electronic media. And as such ruling was not followed and was violated by many political parties, Supreme Court used the power given under article number 129 of the constitution, which talks about the contempt, and gave the new direction. Moreover, guys, here Supreme Court also used the article number 142, which talks about the issuing of order or decree for the complete justice. So as this consequence, the new ruling onto the criminalization of politics has come, and it will be very much fruitful into the coming Bihar elections, which has been notorious in fielding the criminal contestants. Now, guys, what is even more important into the present time is the timing of such kind of judgment, because you know that India is facing far large number of challenges. First of all, there is the challenge of pandemic of COVID-19. Then there is the challenge of economic recession that came due to the lockdown. After that, migrant crisis. Then the crisis of small businesses exiting the industry. Then the unemployment, stress into banking sector, financial sector, and finally the confrontation that is going on to the China. And guys, in order to solve all this crisis, we need three things. Number one is the ever active and responsive bureaucracy, the second is the unobstructionist legislator, and third is the clean intentions. And friends, in this particular direction, decriminalization of politics will play a much important role, because it will free up the criminal intentions and ill-suited intentions into the politics, and ultimately the obstructionist activities which were carried for ill intentions will also reduced, and guys, much needed respite will be given to fight the cocktail of such miseries. Hence, Partly the work has been done by the judiciary, and now the Election Commission of India needs to take a proactive role so that the law and order is maintained and the Supreme Court's directives are respected. And now, here, guys, the Supreme Court, first of all, should scrutinize very carefully the affidavits that have been filed by the candidates to see whether all the credentials are correct or not. Secondly, guys, the Election Commission of India should spread the all promptly available information, and in this direction the social media tools should also be utilized. And again, then third, the political parties should also be nudged that through their own independent means also they should sensitize the voters about the credentials and about the political criminal history of the candidates that they are fielding. Then, guys, there is much more needed that now the scope of Article 324 should also be widened, and much bigger powers are needed to be given to the Election Commission of India so that they can punish the violators who had furnished the wrong willful details. Moreover, there is also a need that the party accounts should be independently audited, and guys, their contribution, their tax benefits, and all these kind of things, as far as possible, should be made available into the public domain. Though, guys, such directions have been there, but it is not very clearly being followed. And then finally, guys, we need to fast track the entire process of a conviction of MPs and MLAs, because in India there is still no provision to ban the contestant who have the criminal record, because you are considered to be innocent until proved guilty, and because there is a very slow judiciary, there are people who have the serious criminal charges, but still they participate into the election. Therefore, all the charges pending against them should be fast tracked and if found guilty, so that they can be suspended using the relevant provisions of the Representation of People Act 1951. And moreover, on an alternative dimension, guys, all this thing will also have one more unintended bad consequence, that there will be much more trolling, mudslinging on each other onto the pretext of the criminal history. So that, guys, the political campaigns will be much more intense, but that is a cost to clean the strained system which we can bear as of now. So, guys, that's all about this particular issue, and now we'll move to next. Now, friends, here the issue of visa politics has been mentioned, which is important for our GS2 diaspora section. In the name of pandemic, various measures onto the visa restrictions have been taken by USA. For example, earlier H1B visas were restricted. H1B visas are for the highly skilled professionals coming from foreign countries, and as the highest category of the H1B visa availers are from India, it severely impacted the fate of Indian software IT engineers and the people falling into the likewise categories. Then, guys, after that, L1 visas were also curtailed. L1 visas are for the intercompany transfers. For example, there is a company into the USA and it has office into the India also, for example. Now, guys, if you want to relocate to the headquarters or office into the USA, you will be given the L1 visa. Then the dependents of L1, they are given the L2 visa. So, guys, all these visas and various other types of visas were also restricted, and now comes the issue of the F1 visa and M1 visa. See, F1 visa is given to the students for the academic courses, whereas M1 visa is given to the students for the non academic courses or the vocational or training based courses into the USA. Now, guys, majority of educational institutions are closed due to the rising number of COVID cases into the USA, and they are providing the online education right now. And here comes the new visa rules. It has been said that if a person is studying into the USA and his entire course has switched to online basis, then his visa will not be renewed and he can go back to his home country. Moreover, guys, the new students which were coming into the USA, and if their courses have been converted onto the online medium, then they will not be given any new visas, and all this will be impacting the large number of students. Now, guys, there is unintended consequences of this also, because it has been said that the USA's higher education and institutions funding has hugely reduced into the last few years, and therefore they depend on to the foreign courses for the revenues. And when the people will not be coming, they will simply not be opting for the USA's universities, and thus their revenues will further be declining. And this thing can force the universities to open early, even at the cost of the pandemic. So such actions will be doing much harm than the benefit. So guys, this is one dimension. Other dimension is that the student and education exchange has been a basis for the US and India relation seen even before the independence, and this type of thing is not good into this particular spirit. And thirdly guys, all this action is nothing but a right wing politics which is going on into the USA. And guys, into the wake of globalization and unfettered flow of human, technical as well as physical labor, such things are not good. And fourthly, often the USA had said that the visa restrictions are being carried in order to safeguard the job for the American citizens, because USA believes in America first. Now, on such logic, how the restriction onto the student visa will work is not understandable, because how students will be impacting the job security of the Americans. Now, guys, there is also one more concern. See, USA's higher education structure is such that it has inherently dependent onto the labor force from the China as well as India. And these students serve the economy into the USA by giving them the highly needed professional competence. And by following this kind of things, ultimately the USA's industries will also be impacting. So guys, on all the dimensions, such decision is not well suited. So that's all about this particular issue, and now we'll move to next. This is a coordinated discussion which discusses the matter of recent ban on 59 apps, which has been called as a digital strike by certain people also. So here an issue erupts that whether into the name of national security is government taking the internet freedom of the citizens. So first of all, the question comes that the action of blocking the 59 apps, is it really taking away the freedom or the rights of the people? So guys, here first of all we will consider the right of the users of these particular app. So in this particular direction, it has been said that anytime they can switch to other platform. For example guys, the users of the TikTok can switch to the other platforms such as YouTube or Facebook. So actually their freedom or their choice has not been taken. Then if we consider the rights of these companies who are providing these apps, then guys, section 69A has been used, and this particular section lists that if the national security of a country is hampered, then all such rights could be taken. So whatever has been done, it is well mandated under the law. Then coming to the alternative viewpoint, it is also being said that yes, the action of government is impacting the rights. First of all guys, it is being said that India is a signatory of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. And here basic human rights and fundamental freedom is guaranteed. And guys, as internet is an intrinsic part of our lives, it also happens to be a basic human right. And stopping the accessibility of a medium of preference is a clear cut violation here. Then guys, in regard of section 69A, it has been said that whenever the government is using any legislation which is having impact onto the rights of the citizen, then it should conduct the three-part test. And as the section 69A is impacting the rights, the three-part test should have been conducted. Now the first part is that the action should be very much clear. Now government has taken the action into the name of national security, so there is some problem as what type of fears or threats are there. Second, it needs to be seen that the same effect could it have been brought by using some less intrusive means or not. So in this particular direction also, government has not said anything. And the third is the test of necessity and proportionality. Was such action really necessary? And secondly, whether it is justifying the proportionality, what is the cost to benefit ratio, and then whether the cost are more or the benefit are more. So this has not been followed, so guys, it is yes the violation of the freedoms which has been guaranteed. Now moving forward, guys, one bigger question comes, that is the scope of section 69A. Is it breaching the mandate of the constitutional guarantees? Is it wide extensive where it becomes intrusive, or no? Now guys, first of all, it is said that yes, the scope of section 69A is very wide, intrusive, and has negative repercussions, because it has been said that into the name of national security defense it can be used, and these areas are very vague and very broad, and often into these names any type of action could be taken. Moreover guys, under the name of preserving the dignity, sovereignty, etc., thousands of websites till now has been blocked, and in a way section 69A is giving a regime to the digital censorship. Therefore its scope is very vague, very wide, and due to this it has been misutilized. Moreover guys, section 69A has never been utilized for the data protection. So simply we can see that for positive things it is not being utilized, and for the negative things it is being utilized. Moreover guys, here we should also remind ourselves with the Anuradha Bhasin judgment, where the Supreme Court held that any action onto the regulation of internet needs to be very well publicized, and all the logic behind that also needs to be publicized. But when the section 69A is used, then guys, actually the clarification might not be given, because it is used onto the pretext of defense, which is a very sensitive matter. So friends, these all are the issues which say that section 69A is yes wide of its scope and has been misused. Now coming on to the next viewpoint, that no, section 69A is not bad. First is that guys, state always need to have a certain weapons which it could use into the times of adversity, because the national security calls for such type of approach. So fine, there is no problem in having it. Second guys, already into the Shreya single case, Supreme Court has upheld the validity of section 69A. So guys, already section 69A has passed the test of judicial scrutiny, so the continuous and scope is well settled here. Now friends, one more issue comes, that the banning of 59 apps, will it be giving some positive signal, yes or no? So one point is yes, it will be giving some positive signal, because guys, the reason that the Chinese apps are so popular is because of their competency, their innovation, and their usability. And why Indian companies are not popular in this regard? Because our innovation standard, etc., has not been good. So this will give a reminder call to Indian companies, and they will also innovate in this particular direction, and ultimately the benefits will be reaped by the Indian digital companies. Now on to the other hand, it has been said that no benefit will come, because guys, such regularization by the government and such censorship by government gives a negative signal, and the ease of doing business goes down, and guys, even the FDI coming in India also gets impacted by this particular step. So friends, all are the issues which are lingering on this particular aspect. Please pay attention, as there could be a potent question on this line. So that's all. Now we'll move to next. Friends, this article talks about the recent decision by the CBSE, where they had decided to cut the syllabus by 30% for classes 9th to 12th, because much of the academic calendar has been wasted by the disruption. Further, it has also been said that those syllabus is being deleted, but it is a responsibility of the teachers that they should still teach those concepts which has been deleted but might be usable into the other concepts. But at the end of the day, questions will not be asked from the deleted curriculum, so actually it will not be the part of the official assessment. Now guys, the issue comes here is that there is arbitrariness which is being used as which part of the syllabus should be deleted, and it is problematic in two fronts. First of all guys, the deleted subject will be denying the knowledge of the basic sciences to the students, and secondly, the deleted courses will also impact the critical reasoning abilities of the student, and this will see with the help of an example. Now guys, into the physics course, various crucial elements and concepts such as Newton's law, the basic concepts of heat, etc. has been deleted, and the advanced concepts such as motion, power, etc. has been retained. But guys, into the absence of basics such as Newton's law, the understanding will not be coming. Now, into the terms of critical reasoning, the example of biology can be taken where the core concepts of ecology and environment has been deleted, and the deletion of such concepts disconnects the student from the real life situation. Now guys, let's take the example of the present pandemic. We know that COVID-19 has the zoonotic origin, and guys, all the circles it is being said that in order to avoid any such future pandemic, the gap between the ecology and civilization is to be maintained, and people needs to be highly sensitized in diverse areas of ecology such as species interaction, population dynamics, evolution of host range expansions, transmission of pathogens, etc. But deleting such concepts will not be building such understanding and critical reasoning into the students who will be the future generations. And guys, apart from these two concepts, there is also a problem that it will be posing the additional burden onto the teacher who have to work even when there is no assessment. And we know the conditions of the education system in India, and guys, at the end of the day it can lead to the poor outcomes which is not required. Moreover, the cognitive abilities onto the sum total will be derailed. So rather than taking a short route, government should come up with certain innovative measures in this particular regard. Guys, that's all about this particular issue. If you remember, we had discussed such a dimension onto the 8th of July also. You can take some points from there as well. So guys, that's all, and now we'll move to next. Guys, few days ago, if you remember, we discussed an issue that a petition is being made that the e-commerce portals such as Amazon, Flipkart, etc. should publish the country of origin tag onto their website with respect to the each product that is listed. Now, in that particular direction, the decision has been taken, and the Union Ministry of Consumer Affairs had said that it is mandatory for the e-commerce portals to display the country of origin tag. And in this particular direction, the legal metrology packaged commodity rules 2011 has been used, which has been amended in 2017 and lists an obligation onto the e-commerce provider that country of origin should be listed. Now guys, all this thing is being done under the name of the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, where the buy Indian product appeal is being made. So this is just a step in that direction only. So guys, that's all about this thing. Nothing more we need to see. So now we'll move to next. Now guys, here the project Sampark has been mentioned, under which the bridges have been developed in J&K. Now guys, the 6 bridges have been developed, but we don't need to go into that particular thing. Not important for exam. We need to see the project Sampark. So guys, this particular project is raised by the Border Roads Organization, which is under the Ministry of Defense, and the headquarters of project Sampark as are at Jammu. Now guys, this particular initiative aims at building the connectivity into certain tough and inaccessible region. So guys, the project Sampark has the responsibility from Pir Panjal into the north to Pathankot into the south, and from Pooch into the west to the Dalhousie into the east. So guys, this is the region where there is a 2200 kilometer of road network. Now the upgradation, maintenance and building of strategic bridges into this particular belt here is under the project Sampark. So guys, please remember this, and now we'll move to next. Friends, here's a brief update. Government had notified the draft rules onto the Wages Act. So guys, if you remember, we had discussed that government is going forward with the labor reforms, and into the labor reforms government has decided to amalgate 44 labor laws into four distinct labor codes, that is labor code on industrial relation, labor code on safety, labor code on wages, and the last is the labor code on social security. And out of this four, the labor code on wages was the first which will be implemented by the government. And in that direction only, now the government has notified the draft rules on to the minimum wages. So earlier, for 45 days, the comment were asked from the public, and now the finally draft wages have been issued. So guys, just keep a quick updation of this thing because it will be very handy when you'll be writing answer onto the labor reforms. So that's it. Now we'll move to next. Now, guys, finally, India is taking a call on Australia's inclusion into the Malabar exercise. First of all, before going into the news, guys, the Malabar is a military exercise which started in 1992 between the India and the USA, and it was expanded in 2015, and Japan was included. Now, since 2017, Australia is also requesting that it should also be included into the Malabar exercise. Basically, friends, if we will bring the Malabar here, then it is just the militarization of the Quad, which is the grouping of four countries, that is India, Japan, US, and Australia. And the militarization of Quad is very much apprehensive to the China, because China says that it is just the effort to contain China. And keeping the concerns of China in mind, India had avoided the inclusion of Australia into the Malabar, even though repeated requests were made. But now, guys, into the aftermath of LAC, earlier India said that they will be allowing Australia for the observer status, and now India is saying that they can even consider the full inclusion of Australia into the Malabar. And obviously, guys, that will be a major irritant again into the India and China relations. But at this point of time, guys, we are doing nothing but we are following the example of 1971, where we signed the treaty of a friendship with the USSR. Why? Just to gain an insurance, and it could also be an example of insurance into the times of crisis. So guys, this is all about this particular issue. We can well use it as an example onto the strategic dimensions between the India China relation also. So friends, that's all, and now we'll move to the question section. Guys, please pause the video and try to answer the question. So first question is with respect to the quorum in parliament. Please consider the right code. Question number 2 is with respect to the agriculture infrastructure fund. So please identify the correct code. Question number 3 is with respect to the Government of India Act of 1935. So guys, please consider the right statement. And the question number 4 is with respect to the privilege motion. So guys, please identify the correct code here. And now the main questions for today. Now guys, the nature of this question is such that it could be asked in any of the paper, that is GS2 or GS3. So the question says that the digital strikes such as banning of certain foreign application not only involves the security concerns, rather it has much wide dimensions and concerns. Discuss and evaluate such concerns. So friends, it is a 15 marker question. Please write it, and tomorrow we will discuss the framework of such question. So that's all, guys. I hope you are liking our initiative. Thank you so much for supporting us.